very happy for you to sit in between us.
I want attacking purposeful football all the time. And providing you had it up in that quarter, we had a real chance of winning it in that quarter. Now we've got our backs against the wall and we've got to fight.
Absolutely nailed it.
When we decided to do the half-season reports for the teams having their buys, I was a little bit excited. I thought, it would be good to see where they're travelling, where they're going.
Yep.
One of the hardest teams to do is Gold Coast.
Yep.
It's very, very hard to find positives.
It's hard to even know what's going on up there because it seems every week, they tend to stay out of the media a lot being up there, but every week seems like there's something bad coming out of there.
Look, the fastest I've seen them move all season was when that shit with Carmichael Hunt went down, and they're like, not us, no.
Former rugby league player, Carmichael Hunt.
Exactly. They ran away from him fast, and they ran towards the ball.
The fast they moved was when Carmichael got the coke, and then when he got caught with it, that was just as quick moving away.
Look, they're sitting 18th at the minute. 1 win, 10 losses. Fair to say, a little bit below par.
Season, in a word, would be shitehouse.
Yeah.
I think a lot of people had them tipped to play finals this year.
They were supposed to play finals.
Yeah. I did. And
me too.
They've kind of made me look like a fucking moron.
Well, we had them pegged as what GWS have done this season. They were kind of expected that from Gold Coast.
Exactly right. We expected them to showing up in the young players. They're not young anymore. They're 4 or 5 years into the system. It's time to take commanding roles.
Yeah, it seems like they did well to hide a lot of problems they had with their young list, keep that out of the media, and it kind of just snowballed, and they couldn't get on top of it, and that's what happened.
From what's come out this year, it looks like they've turned into a bit what St Kilda used to be known as back in the 70s and 80s, which was the party club.
Yeah.
You don't go there to win premierships or anything.
Yep.
You go there to have a good time.
Exactly. I think probably it's got to do with the culture, doesn't it? Where you're a new club, you're an expansion club, you're no pressure, you're not expected to win or do that much. Perhaps that lackadaisical approach comes through in the off-field stuff too.
Well,
seems that way.
It was a little bit of a surprise sacking in Bluey McKenna over the summer, but we've seen why now.
Yeah.
Rocket Eads come in, and after 1 or 2 games, I think even before round 1, he said we're in trouble.
Yeah.
He knew what was going on up there. And if it's somebody can walk in and see it so quickly like that, it says that he's not just covering his own arse. He doesn't need to do that. He's been a coach for 20 odd years.
Yeah.
He's fine with that. So when he starts saying there's trouble, there certainly is, and we've seen that.
As brilliant a player as Gary Ablett is, and he is one of the best of all time, he's not one of those guys that'll grab a bloke and go, don't fuck around. He just expects to lead by example, which is all he really has to do. If you don't get inspired by having Gary Ablett in your midfield, you're in the wrong fucking game.
Well, they showed last year when he went down that they really struggled. I think they had 1 win for the rest of the year after losing Ablett. He wasn't ready when he came back this year, and they've only had 1 win again.
Yeah, and you expected other players to stand up a lot more than they did. They still had a few. You had Prestia, so O'Meara as well before he got injured.
But the player they don't have is the club man. Like the guy who may not be the most talented bloke, but like your Jakey Kings, your even Michael Fritos or whatever, the guy that just bleeds for the club.
Look, I think they've got only one, and that was May, who's playing centre back for him, and he got suspended, unluckily suspended for 3 weeks, I think, when they challenged the high bump.
That's right.
It was a great. I thought on super slow mo, you go, you nick the chin, you're gone, which is very unfortunate. But he's the only one. Is it a problem with their mature age recruits?
Well, I also think losing Brown was actually tough for them because he had that sort of authority.
Yeah, but he
took it
decked
too far.
he decked his own player.
Yeah,
that's why they lost him.
In hindsight, that he might have deserved it.
But if you go through and have a look at their mature age recruits since they started, Ablett, you give him a pass.
Yeah.
But besides him, you got Riscatelli. They took guys like Josh Fraser, Tom Murphy. It became a retirement club.
Yeah.
They were unlucky with Bock.
Yeah.
Nathan Bock, who broke his leg and never really got back.
Yep.
The Melbourne backman, not Wheatley, what was his name? He's gone now. But, he was unlucky again. He was okay.
It's like they recruited a senior player for every line.
It was almost like, you've got somebody? Yeah, fair enough, we'll take him.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly.
They didn't go out and go, we're going to go get him.
Yep.
You know what I mean? Riscatelli was a good pickup. Jared Brennan was okay, but again, not quite the right mould.
Yep.
The Carmichael Hunt experiment, as far as I'm concerned, worked.
Yep.
But it was he didn't have the chance to really go forward and become a dominant player. He was a handy player at times and a good marketing tool.
Yeah.
Done his job and he left. Fair enough, but
Oh, look, they got value out of him.
value, yeah,
Yeah.
In a marketing sense, and by all accounts on the track he was amazing, and in the change rooms he was
Off the track. He was fucking fantastic.
he was off the track, well off the track.
All right, so
Who are their top three?
I've got Riscatelli.
Yep,
I thought he had a pretty good season.
We didn't have a worst loss?
that's next, isn't it?
Oh, I thought best win, worst loss.
Oh, yeah.
Top three.
Yep, no, you're right.
Anyway, all right,
Best win.
The win.
Yes.
The win, yeah.
Well, look, if you're going to beat fellow bottom dwellers, beating the guy across town is probably a good way to do it.
It's something they can hang their hat on. For the few fans that are there,
Yeah.
if they're going to school, their kids going to school against their mates who are wearing the Brisbane Lions Guernseys,
Yeah, I was
at least
gonna
they've
say,
got something.
If they had fans, this one would really mean something to them.
Well, they've probably all jumped ship now. But
Wor-
yeah. Oh, look.
Worst loss, and we've got a lot to choose from.
Gary Ablett. Easy.
Yeah.
Absolutely. It's very simple to say. None of the games really matter that much. Gary Ablett was the
Yep.
worst loss.
To me, it's a toss-up between round one, they lost to Melbourne, and coming in, they were expected to play finals, so they probably would have penciled that in as an easy one, and they got done.
Yeah.
At the MCG, and they don't have many trips to the MCG.
Yeah, and the next tough one, I'd say, would be losing to GWS, because the fellow new boy, Gold Coast came in a year earlier, and GWS took him to school.
And the thing is, GWS kicked 16 goals, 23.
It
Yeah.
could have been much, much
Yeah.
worse.
They
Yeah.
should have massacred it. Well, it was a massacre. They won by 10 goals, pretty much.
Yeah.
But it wasn't even close. If GWS was a bit more polished, they would have just kicked 30 goals, and it could have been ugly as hell.
I think they've got to the point now where some teams are, thank God we're playing the Suns.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yep.
and they're almost switching off a bit. I mean, they almost caught Fremantle by surprise.
It's almost like if you're playing the Suns, you'll get pissed off if you don't get enough percentage out of it.
Yeah,
Because that could matter.
And that's what happened with Hawthorn and Sydney. I mean, look,
Yeah.
that's a rough run having to play Hawthorn, Sydney, and Freo back to back to
Jesus.
back.
Yep.
And they got away with a 50-point loss, and 2 goals.
Yep.
That's almost you'd be happy to take that, but it is more of a case of the other teams just we're in front. That'll do.
Yeah.
Yeah, they're just going to cruise mode, and then we'll get a few more goals, but we're not going to really bust our guts. We're not going to get injured.
Let's not get injured.
Yeah.
Yeah. Let's save ourselves for after the game, guys. That's where it's all happening.
But another one of my top players, Little Sard.
Adam Sard.
Yep.
To me, the fact that he went through 2 drafts without getting picked up is phenomenal. Honestly, I think it has to do with his last name. They saw Ahmed Sard and the issues he had and thought, oh, geez, won't pick up his brother. Never mind the fact they're not even related.
I mean, even Ahmed, he never really had any problems. He took a protein drink that
Yeah.
he wasn't allowed to take.
Yeah.
He's one of the unluckiest bastards going
Oh,
around.
bloody...
But look, Adam Sard's been great. He's been very matured across the back line. He's making a lot of good decisions and really taking the game on.
And he's one of the few guys that doesn't drop his head. Because the ball's down there a fucking lot.
Yep.
And he's always trying. He reminds me a little bit of the way he plays like a Basher Hooley. He's not afraid to try and break a tackle. He doesn't have Hooley's physique. But
I tell you what, he's not far off it. He's a big
yeah,
lad for a young lad.
But he's not afraid to take a tackler on. Like, you see a lot of the young lads come in and they see someone closing in and they're like, shit, get rid of it. And they clanger it to the boundary line
Yeah.
or some crap.
Yeah.
But he has a bit of something about him. He will be a very attacking defender.
I think he's only missed one game, and I don't think he's had his colours lowered, really. You'd be happy with his effort week in, week out.
Yeah.
And his ball use has been pretty good for a team that's obviously struggling and not getting that many good opportunities.
Well, you look at his ball use, and he's only got 6 clangers for the season. For a
a
guy
good
that's
effort.
averaging 19 possessions a game,
And
Like-
is this his first year?
less than a clanger a game is spectacular for that bloke. Yeah,
First year on the
yeah. Like I said, he missed 2 drafts. Lots of drafts went through, and everyone's gone, yeah, no, we're okay.
So he's picked up the pace of the AFL, or at least the pace of Gold Coast, pretty quickly.
Probably setting the pace for Gold Coast at the moment.
Absolutely, yeah. Look, it is. You're still going to find who else is in their top 3 players besides Riscatelli inside. I mean, you can
Yeah.
throw Prestier or Kolodachki or
I had Harley Bennell in there.
you got Harvey Bennell.
Harley Bennell.
He's
Well,
handy.
He's done better than what I expected him to do. there. So,
But I mean, yeah, Bennell and Harbrow, handy is the right word.
Yeah.
They haven't been game winners, which they threatened to be in other times.
yep.
They haven't really taken the game on. Like they're kind of expecting everyone else to help them a bit. For my money.
Yeah. And like I said before, I've really liked Stephen May. He was very unlucky to sit out those games on suspension, but
Yep.
he's looking like he'll be a key backman for a long time and very handy. We've got
Needs to lift.
how much pressure is the coach under? First year for Rocket.
Yeah, you're not going to put him under pressure. He inherited a fucking mess. It's going to take him time.
I've got him as a 1 out of 10, just because if you are 1 in 10, you
Yeah.
can't be on 0.
I think he's got credit just by walking in the club and going, "Hey,
Let's
look at
clean
this
up."
fucking bullshit."
Yeah.
So I think he's come in there, exposed what's going on, hasn't pulled any punches with it, and actively doing something about it. You got to give him another year.
It wasn't like he waited until they were 0 and 5 to say,
Yeah.
"Oh yeah, there's trouble, guys." He said it from the get-go.
Yeah.
I'd say he'd have 2 years just because he's going to need to trade a fuck ton of people at the end of this year. I think he might just have a handful of people who want to keep on board. Everyone else is fair game, and he'll be recruiting talent.
I think that'll be a good change in tactics for him, is recruiting talent rather
Yes.
than who's there that wants to come.
Yeah.
Yeah, they kind of went to a all-you-can-eat buffet and then just gorged themselves on the leftovers.
Yeah. Filled up on the bread and didn't get there for main course.
Yeah.
So yes, who is playing for their careers? Who's in trouble and who
I
is
reckon
left?
quite a few of them.
Absolutely.
Definitely.
One of the two biggest disappointments for me were Swallow and Matera. Two guys that can play, and when they're on, they're brilliant, but they've shown nothing to me this year.
Very, very patchy. It's the only way I can say it.
Yeah, I mean, you've got a you've got a plethora of people to choose from. Is that a word?
Plethora.
Sure.
Plethora.
All right, I'll use that one. So I think maybe Zach Smith. Is anyone to think of?
Yeah, I think he's had some injury worries, but then he was okay and still playing in the twos.
Yeah.
So they're a little bit unsure of him. And he looked like a gold mine when he
Yeah.
started there.
Yep.
It's your number one pick even, could have been.
Could have been, I can't remember, yeah.
Yeah,
And-
I've also got Malcheski needs to lift. I know he's had his issues, but they recruited him as a backline general, essentially. And look, he ran a brilliant backline.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
At the Swans, to grand finals and premierships.
Yep. It's a mature age as well, wasn't he?
He was was he restricted free agent or unrestricted free agent? One or the other. But either way, it means that they paid good coin for him, and it clearly hasn't given him a thing.
Yep.
He's been worse than some of their other much younger backmen.
Yeah.
So much that I think injury was fortunate for him, because otherwise he would have had the misfortune to be dropped.
I mean, in fairness, it is a team game. It's hard to find nice targets when none of them are fucking running.
Yeah, but you can't. His disposal's been deplorable.
It has. And I actually liked the way Malcheski played for Sydney. I thought he was unbelievably handy in the back line.
Well, I hated the way he played for Sydney because he bloody pop up against Hawthorn and cost us a grand final.
But he really hasn't done much. I mean, I don't know whether Gold Coast just thought, "Oh, he'll fix the problem for us," and have then just thrown him under the bus. But
On paper, it's a great pickup. It's a great off-season move
Yep.
for him.
Yeah.
That
Yeah.
mature head down back. It
on
couldn't
the
have gone
grass,
worse.
it's frustrating as fuck.
Yeah.
Because it hasn't changed anything. Their defence leaks like a sieve. Their disposal has been piss poor. And look, AFL footy is not easy. I'm not saying I could do any better, but I'm not the one getting paid a couple of $100,000 a year to try.
$700,000 to do it, or whatever it is. Do they have a danger game for the rest of the year?
Carlton.
Straight out of the bye.
Don't want to lose against Carlton, especially if you're sitting last and they're going to be second last by the looks of it. So
Carlton are up and about. They've been good since they sacked their coach. I think that's a real danger game, especially if Ablett comes back.
yeah.
As we sit here now, he's completed his Monday training session. If he completes Wednesday,
Yeah.
Ablett doesn't play in the twos.
Yep.
That's just bullshit.
Yeah.
If he comes back in and things don't change, that's really damning.
Yeah.
Do you reckon they've already commissioned a statue for him?
At the minute, Gold Coast are the only team that doesn't have a name for their best and fairest. It's just the Gold Coast best and fairest.
Well, they're probably just waiting for him.
GWS, it's the Kevin Sheedy medal. It's the Jack Dyer at Richmond. It's the Copeland Trophy at Collingwood and all that. He won their first three. Would have won it last year if he didn't bust his shoulder halfway through the year. I guarantee you, the minute he retires, is
Yeah.
the Gary Ablett Jr. medal. It has to be.
He's got a Brownlow there as well, hasn't he? So
He won a Brownlow in his second year.
Well, I guess he's the only bloke filling up their trophy cabinet.
Absolutely. Unless they might have had a rising star. I can't remember.
Right, surprise packet. For me, it's Sard again. I would not have expected a bloke in his first season to play the way he has.
yeah,
No, he's been brilliant.
To me, that's the only real surprise, except for the surprise disappointment of everyone else being shit.
yeah. I was going to say the most surprising thing is how disappointing they are. So
Even if you thought, okay, it's not going to turn out well, you didn't think it was going to turn out this badly.
yeah,
And like we said, further off-field things like Dixon having a quiet wine in his hotel room before the Hawthorn game.
yep,
It's just more things. He's like those pissy little things, especially with their injuries. I think at one stage they were down to 24 fit men,
yeah. Something like that.
and then you got some bloke who's knocking back some goon the night before a game, and then playing shithouse.
Their injuries also make me wonder, have they not done a proper pre-season?
Well, they're on the gear.
Yeah, so it looks like their pre-season's still going.
But if Rocket Ede's not running the guts out of him every week as punishment, I'd be shocked. Because he's not one to take mediocrity lying down. He's a bit of a hard ass. And
An old, cantankerous, grumpy old bastard.
yeah,
To be honest, he's
make him
probably-
do jumping jacks on the roof of the hotel sort of thing.
He's probably sick of teams being in this position too. He's out at Western Bulldogs,
The
same
bullies,
fucking
yeah.
shit.
But I mean, you can't flog guys that are in the recovery rooms
That's
and
exactly
doing
right.
rehab.
Yeah.
Doing one kind of rehab or the other.
Yeah, one of
Dinker
the
up their
two.
nars or something. But, look, they will have the most brutal off-season of all at the end of this year. And if they don't, then Ede gets sacked.
I think they'll have a brutal trade period
Yeah,
That
and
too.
then brutal off season.
They need to recruit strong class.
They're in the rebuild phase again. They're only 5 years
Yeah.
old and they're in a rebuild phase.
yeah.
It's
That's
just
what disappointing is.
especially in a team in a market that's really going to struggle to hold roots.
Yeah,
Well, because they went about it differently to GWS, if GWS make finals this year, you have to say their method was better. Get
Of
a
course
bunch of
it was.
young
Yeah,
kids,
absolutely.
wear the pain for 2 or 3 years, but
Yeah.
keep the team together.
I mean, GWS got slightly better draft concessions than they did,
Yeah.
but that's no excuse.
They had a better
I mean,
system in place too.
You still had awesome draft
I
picks.
mean,
It just
even their
wasn't as
living
awesome.
arrangements, you know what I
Yeah.
mean, where they had not full control, but they gave the
living on campus,
Yeah.
kind of.
you had support there, and
But they
young
recruited
kids.
a team. They wanted, a core of 30 players to spend 3 years together building that camaraderie and just, blood, sweat, tears. They wanted a group of people to take a bullet for each other.
Yep.
Rather than take an 8-ball for each other, which is what it ended up at Gold Coast.
And they wrote off a meal with Tom Scully, so
Yeah.
going pretty good.
Yeah, I can say it's not like GWS went flawlessly. They
Yeah.
still made mistakes, but they've recovered since.
Yep.
And you got to put it down to Sheedy
Yeah.
for a lot of that.
Well, if you're going to get advice, a bloke that's been there, done fucking everything,
Well-
not a bad bloke to listen to.
Well, I mean, he's next coast of Essendon, isn't he? Next coast of Essendon, he's back down there. Heard he on a bit of vacation, so
You never know. The other danger game I said was round 19 against Brisbane. The only danger is if they win it and Ablett comes back, they might miss out on a number 1 draft pick.
And I mean, if the only win they get for the season is the first game against Brisbane, you can expect Brisbane to try and avenge that one before
Yep.
the season's out.
And look, it all comes down to, is Ablett's shoulder okay? And if not, he might be finished.
Well, to me, any danger game is going to be when they're playing a physical game and Ablett's back. So you look at some of the more physical teams, they're not going to play them the rest of the season. Probably the biggest one would be Sydney in the last round. If Ablett's back and Sydney test him out, which maybe they'll do in the last round, maybe they won't. If he goes down again, geez, you can have some tears.
Look, the only positive for him is it is the last round. Sydney might send their second side and might still give him a shake
And to be honest, I think Gold Coast might just put Ablett in the rack for the season.
and say,
Yeah,
have a
done.
good 2016 instead.
Yeah.
Wheel him out for some of the nice, easy runs.
But having said that, with how tight things are at the top, if Sydney need a percentage booster in round 23,
Yep.
that could be
brutal.
15
Yeah,
goals.
Yeah.
Not only brutal on the scoreboard, they could struggle because their bodies aren't ready for the tough physical pressure that Sydney can bring.
They could struggle to field a team. Imagine
Yeah,
that.
by that stage, yeah.
You might have a few guys throwing the towel in.
So where have we got them finishing? 17th or 18th? Because they're the only 2 positions.
18th.
I've got them 17th because I reckon they might get a sneaky one if Ablett gets up. I don't know if Brisbane will win again. That's the only thing.
That's the way I've got it too. I've got them finishing 17th, only because they might crawl above Brisbane if Ablett's okay.
Yep.
That's a big one. So, if you're a Gold Coast Suns fan,
let us know, because I'm yet to find one yet.
We're amazed, for starters.
Let your husband know that you're following the footy. And, it looks like it'll be a bit of pain for you, which is great, because you've got to earn your support. If you're just jumping on for the good times, you're not really a supporter.
And I'll tell you what, you're testing yourselves if you're still hanging around, so well done, as I can say. You'll be there for the long haul.
Yeah, and, if you can't bear the pain, we also do MMA and Formula One podcasts, so jump across to those.
All right, guys. Have a better second half of the year.
Good luck
Take it
in
easy.
Origin 3.